People often run away from sales.
I think sales teach you the basics of business.
So Shivadeep Panjwani.
My journey from XLRI to Wipro, working with Ramki Infrastructure and then stepping into Darwinbox and now with Bajaj Finserv.
What kind of people thrive and what kind of people get plateau? What are the 4 or 5 HR careers that are available after MBA in HR?
So stakeholder management is the need of an hour. So you need to be a domain expert to become a leader.
What is the definition of talent? Does it change throughout the different sectors?
How critical your thinking is to resolve problems and make good customer experience.
And I'm absolutely okay with work from home if you're taking lunch with people smarter than you.
People who are open for feedback, open for learning, humble, and at the same time very proactive, they always thrive.
It's not your manager's job to give you feedback. It's your job to ask for a feedback.
Absolutely.
I am against work from home because you're doing really stupid thing for your career.
So I think people are frequently changing their relationships and career both.
Hi, welcome to another episode of Clarity with the Career Company, where we invite industry leaders to talk about different sectors, different roles, their trajectory, their typical day, so you don't have to take major career decision alone. So today we have very special guest with us, Mr. Shivadeep Panjwani, who has an Excel alum, who has started with Wipro, then worked with Ramki, then worked with Darwinbox, worked with now with Bajaj Finserv, worked with Madhya Pradesh government, led their HR transformations, have 2 decades of experience in different sectors, different roles, and today we're going to talk about BFSI as a sector. We're going to cover 3-4 sectors. We're going to understand what it takes to be successful in BFSI, what are different roles, how to prepare for an interview, how to build resumes, what are the qualities they look for in a candidate when it comes to promotions. So welcome Shivadeep ji for the Clarity with the Career Company. Thank you for agreeing to speak to us and our audiences.
Thank you so much, Mercy, for inviting me on this podcast. I'm quite excited to talk about my journey from XLRI to Wipro, working with Ramki Infrastructure and then stepping into Darwinbox and now with Bajaj Finserv.
Great. So why don't you start with your journey, how it started and brief.
Sure. Across my span of last 2 decades, there were some 3 to 4 turning points that really brought a lot of change in my thought process. Starting with Wipro, which was a big company with all structured processes, systems, HR operations at length, where even a PMS process used to take 6 months, I learned things from the core. And then moving on to Ramki Infrastructure, which was heavy on field workforce and project-based assignments. The real challenges as ground is what I learned there. And solutioning along with the teams at ground level and right up to the business heads was something that built the entire infrastructure into a different regimen altogether. That is the kind of business where people from service industry take a lot of time to get adapted, adjusted, because you have to understand the ground level problems, which is more of a blue collar workforce. Then moving from an infrastructure to a SaaS-based startup, Darwinbox, which is again a game changer for me as a career turning point. SaaS-based startups generally look for rapid, agile HR transformations across businesses. So I worked with BFSI, IT, ITES, service. So roughly around 200 plus clients I serve for. And it was an amazing journey because unlike CA, CS, where you have structured processes taught to you right from your professional education, it doesn't work like that with HR. So every company has different way of running the HR processes, and that is where my interest lies, to understand how the 200 companies run their PMS, 200 companies run their HR operations, although they might follow the same labor rules and regulations, but the way they transform themselves, the way they address to people's need is completely different. So it's one's choice how you want to shape your career. Whether you want to get into a traditional infrastructure kind of a setup, or you want to get into a BFSI, or you want to get into a fast-paced SaaS tech platforms, every company has a different journey altogether. And now with Bajaj Finserv, it's an amazing journey for the last 2 months.
Right. So you also have worked with government of Madhya Pradesh leading their HR transformation. Government having their HR wing is unheard of. So can you walk us through that journey? What have you done there exactly? Sure.
So for government of Madhya Pradesh, it was the first time in their last 50 years, I guess, that they had set up a Department of Information Technology where they invited people from the industry on a contract basis. There I got an opportunity to actually write HR policies, setting up the entire framework of Center of Excellence, inviting people from IT industry, setting up the entire IT company of its own, where we do our own developments. We give consultation to all the government departments, working along with IS officers closely to make Madhya Pradesh digitally inclined, digitally strengthened. So that was an amazing journey to working with government people and bringing that level of HR transformation.
Right. And so now you are working with Bajaj Finserv for 2 months. So what are the things that young professionals get wrong about BFSI as a career and how it is changing?
Typically people, whenever we talk about BFSI, they think either it's a banking job or a finance job, which is no more the case. With BFSI, now the trend is changing. People are moving more towards data analytics, more towards product, more towards technology, which is actually bringing a lot of fintech startups in the market. So the demand is no more of a stable environment, but more of an agile environment where if you are ready for change, if you are able to change yourself, if you are able to update yourself every 12 to 18 months, you are in the industry.
Right. And talking about placements, specifically B school placement, because that's where TCC operates in. Earlier in 2010 to 15 or even earlier, the percentage of BFSI placements were very high, which is reducing every year. What do you think is changing?
I think earlier the organizations used to first see the pedigree, and pedigree used to play a very, very crucial role. Roughly around 70% of the people were hired based on where they are coming from.
Correct.
Now the case is completely the other way around. Even if you are from a tier 2, tier 3 MBA college, but you have that force to learn, if you are open to adaptation, if you are open to learning technology, if you are open to have cross skills across the domains, then you are definitely in. Then the pedigree does not matter the most.
And BFSI still is a stable sector that every parents want their kid to be in, or it is changing very fast?
It is evolving rapid fast. Gone are those days when it is called a stable sector. It is evolving because there's a lot of technological disruption. So if you are running with that pace, then you are able to catch up the speed.
Okay. And there is a huge technology angle to it. Earlier, technology was a one vertical in banks, and now technology company like fintech. So how do you see a role of tech roles emerging into BFSI?
See, we have moved in last 20 years from paper money to plastic money to now digital money.
Correct.
So the role of tech is getting stronger and stronger. In fact, these BFSI companies now have their IT company instead of an IT wing, which completely supports in and out to run their tech operations, because now money is no more in plastic. It is all digital. So all the transactions runs digital. Hence, there's a even more bigger requirement for people to become tech enabled and tech focused.
Okay. And how the definition of talent across, you have worked in Wipro, which is an IT company, Ramco is an infrastructure company, then Darwin Box, which is an HR SaaS, and then now BFSI. What is the definition of talent? Does it change throughout the different sectors, or how do you define that?
Absolutely. So it all depends on what kind of culture you are into. In companies like Ramki, the culture is more about ownership. The culture is more about how good you are at the same task, repetitively doing day in and out. Okay. Whereas in SaaS-based companies, you are facing newer challenges every day. How agile you are and open you are to think out of the box. How critical your thinking is to resolve problems and make good customer experience. In BFSI sector, it is more about your learning agility. How fast you can learn, how fast you can adopt, and how fast you can move on. And again, how inclined you are towards the customer experience. So the entire theory is about making the customer experience stronger.
Okay. So you are saying the definition of talent changes from industry to industry. Yes. If you worked in, say, forces and say Army, Navy or Air Force, how disciplined you are, that's what matters. If you work in, say, intelligence service, how smart you are, and doesn't matter how disciplined you are, but how you get the job done.
Correct.
How innovative you are, how good go-getter you are, that matters. So it's very interesting take that definition of talent changes with the sector, and what is that sector looking for. Correct. So that's where the core thesis of Career Company also is that we think that you should not prepare for the day and what to say. You should prepare for the role.
Absolutely.
And therefore you need to know what exactly that role takes, what the typical day look like, what the career trajectory look like. So we take the sectoral workshop and we say that what kind of personality thrive in consulting, what kind of personality burn out in consulting, what kind of personality thrive in BFSI, what kind of people, because you get into a sector or a job saying it's CTC, but it is not good for you. Recently, I'll give you a very good example, sir, that one company who are into analytics, sports analytics, and the major sports there is cricket. They picked 4 female candidates from one campus, and all 4 female and 1 male candidate they hired. And after 1 year, they realized that all 4 left because they had no interest in cricket, and that one guy is still with them for so many years because he's so much into cricket. Now they were in love with analytics, but they were away from the sport cricket. And the company was operating in sports analytics and specifically in cricket. So it's very important it's a two-way street. Rather, you should find that what is that you love about the sector and what is that you love about the role. And you should take a call on that.
Absolutely. And I think a lot of people ask me, what should I choose? What role should I choose when I start from my college? So you cannot decide your complete future at the first step of starting your job.
Correct.
The roles might evolve. Your choice may change. So you should start with what is coming on your way, what interests you, what is your passion, and not what you are thinking 5 years and 10 years down the line. So as and when the challenges come, you try to change yourself and try to learn new things and develop new interests.
Correct. It's like saying that I am going to Bhopal from here and I want to see the whole road with full light. You have to trust your headlight, right? You have to trust your skills, and you will make the path. So generally when the campus recruits start in BFSI, generally 90% of the time, or more than 50% would be a safe bet to say, are sales roles, a relationship manager role. So then what next? If somebody joins any bank or any insurance company in a sales, how their career trajectory look like?
See, the growth aspects are now changing. The trajectory is not only now limited to becoming a sales head. Now you can even go to product, you can go to risk, compliances, underwriting, technology. There are many more roles where you can define your growth.
And how easy it is to make an internal switch as a campus recruit? Is it a normal thing, or you have to be exceptional at one point of time and then you go ask for a transition? How does that
See,
work?
based on organizations' policies, if you have completed an X tenure and there's an IJP, you can definitely move. But for that, you need to have developed that kind of interest, that agility, especially to learn, adapt, and again, become expert at it. So definitely there are roles across organizations, and organizations are now looking for individuals who can move from sales role to different roles.
Oh, very
Because they
interesting.
understand the ground level reality, the ground level challenges. Somebody who has worked in sales can, very well manage the other roles.
Correct. And people often run away from sales very early career. What is your take on that?
I think sales teach you the basics of business. The ground level problems, when you are able to understand, you are able to run the business more effectively.
Okay, very interesting. And what are the other aspiring roles in BFSI? Not only BFSI, across sectors that you see are emerging, and people should look at those roles instead of just traditional roles.
Sure. So if you talk outside BFSI, I think the PR roles are gaining demand. Roles where you need to have stakeholder management, which we also primarily look for if we are hiring across sectors. Stakeholder management is getting critical because now you are dependent on a different set of people to get one task completed. So if you are not efficient at networking, if you're not efficient in getting the work done through various set of people, you will not be able to achieve your goal. So stakeholder management has now become a critical skill that we even look into the interviews, that we look into the candidates, along with candidates being empathetic, being taking the ownership, having accountability. So stakeholder management is the need of an hour.
Okay, and a lot of B schools we go to and we realize that 50-60% people are freshers, and where in US the minimum work ex that is required for an MBA is 2 to 3 years. What is your take on that? Fresher picking into an MBA.
A fresher picking in MBA is definitely required to gain some experience initially before he or she can expect a better or a bigger role, because you first need to understand the business to be able to contribute to it. Unless you have learned how business functions, how different vertical functions, and what is your role, what is your contribution to it, you will really not be able to make a meaningful contribution. So I think experience is must at initial level for you to think into something that is strategic in nature.
Correct. So you said about strategy, and a lot of top tier IMs, first gen, second gen, people want to go into BFSI but only in strategy role. I don't know they are available for a lot of people fresh out of campus or not. So what is your take on what does the strategy roles really mean, and is it available after say second gen IM or even first gen IM?
See, strategy roles are definitely available in BFSI, and not only BFSI, I think other sectors as well. It is definitely required to scale up the business, to make good informed decisions. But to make those decisions, somebody coming with strategy need to have a detailed, deep insight of how business functions. They need to understand from HR standpoint, from finance standpoint, how a balance sheet looks like. Where are we heading to in terms of our funding, our finances? Where are we heading in terms of the business growth? So unless a person has worked for at least 4 to 5 years in any organization, I think it is too early for him or her to get into a strategy role.
Okay. Now we are moving to this. Before we move to the section where we advise candidate on how to prepare for a BFSI roles, I just want to ask you what are some courageous steps that you have took in your career, which now if you look back make a lot of sense, but at the time it was a very risky bet to take.
So when I was working with Ramki Infrastructure as head of HR, leaving that senior level leadership role and moving to a
That too in a
SaaS-based
listed company.
Yeah, that too in a public listed company, and moving to a SaaS-based startup, Darwinbox, was definitely a risky affair. And many of my friends, even asked
Advice
me,
not to.
is that the right decision? But I think that was a game changer in my life, because
Okay.
that was a platform which made me learn HR tech, which is now the need of an hour. I got an opportunity to work with 200 plus clients, understanding the mindset of so many CHROs of how differently they run the function. As I said, chartered accountants and company secretaries have mostly a fixed and a defined way of working. They have their rules and regulations. They have their structured approaches which are followed across the country by every CNCS in the same fashion. Whereas it doesn't happen in HR.
Correct.
Because you don't have a fixed way of doing. You only have a defined theory, a methodology, and that methodology can have different permutations and combinations. So a PMS can be done in 10 different ways. We may have these 3-4 theories based on which, or frameworks based on which we do it, but the way I do it and the way you do it is completely different.
Correct.
So that kind of exposure I got in Darwinbox, and I'm really excited that I work with such companies, which still gives me a lot of momentum, a lot of edge to work on technological platforms.
Even we at TCC says that if you join a startup like us, we ensure that you get 7 years of work exposure in 3 years, because it's very crazy high pace environment where you end up doing a lot of things, and in startup we say that you get a roles that you are not eligible for, and they know you will fail and they still take a bet on you.
Correct.
Right? So that's a beauty of but at the same time the listed companies has their own challenges. Change management, recently we were talking to someone and say that implementing process on a CRM is way easier than driving the change.
True.
It's a 30% of technology and 70% of and 20% of training, and then 50% of making sure that people switches over the period of time. What is your take on that?
Yes, right. So with traditional organizations, especially into infrastructure and manufacturing, bringing a change is real tough, because making people understand that now they have to switch to a different way of working is difficult, because they have got into comfort zone for
Correct.
years together, doing the same thing repetitively. There's not new challenge every day. Maybe at project level you may have it, but if you're sitting in a corporate office, you may not have newer things every day. So if you're doing the same thing repetitively on a regular basis, mastering that skill, and 5 years, 10 years down the line, if somebody asks you to change that, obviously as a human being you need time. So that time of adoption to a newer technology or a newer set of regulations or a newer set of working is a challenging process for any consultant or HR person. But it's an interesting journey. And when people start adopting it is when you see a big transformation.
Correct. Recently, I was listening to the podcast of Kunal Shah, and he said that I am against work from home because you are, the people that you are with makes you, and there you are with no one. And I'm absolutely okay with work from home if you're taking lunch with people smarter than you, which is not happening there. Right? So if you're opting for work from home to save on taxi or save on rent, you're doing really stupid thing for your career, because at work most of the time you grew because of the colleagues. Right? Even in top B schools or IIMs or Ivy League, why people go there is not because of only placement, but because of the peers, quality of peers that they get. They find their tribe.
True.
So what is your take on this, that people should come to office, or you just say that, right? That how challenging your day is and with whom you are learning. And if people are opting work from home and more of individual contributor, do you think that their learning curve get plateau somewhere?
Absolutely. So I am a person who is always in favor of work from office.
Okay.
Yeah, even my companies in the past and the current company also offers work from home. But I personally believe that it is important for employees to come to office, interact, because unless you interact, you are not able to learn, to grow, to understand what the person is feeling. Although we have technology where you can have video calls, you can have discussions all day long, but the kind of vibe that you get in office, the activities that you are engaged with, and more important is when you interact with people, is when you get the other side of the life also. You get a lot of insights which help you stay motivated, which
Correct.
help your learning curve always active, and you are able to build your growth trajectory. Working from home, somewhere I believe in a closed room, you don't have anybody to talk, interact, see, watch. So I think somewhere or the other, you're not able to go beyond a certain limit. If you have some challenges, probably 1 or 2 days in a month is fine. But all through your career, or for the tenure of 1-2 years, unless there's a COVID-like situation, I think work from office is always good.
Right. And people nowadays there is also one very terrifying trend which says that people are changing their job often. If you take your generation and then my generation or then the current generation, our average tenure is reducing.
Yeah.
What is your take on that?
So I think people are frequently changing their relationships and career both, which I believe need to be relooked at. And the pace at which people are changing relationships and career, it's definitely going to be difficult when you have to take a decision to become stable with one. Because you're not able to master, you're not able to get comfort and confidence with one career or probably with one partner. I'm not saying you should not change. When it is required, you should. But I think a long-term career or a relationship is important for you from the stability standpoint, for you to learn, for you to grow, and for you to master.
Makes sense. Everything extraordinary in life comes from a compounding interest, as Naval Ravikant says, that you have to stay invested and that's how you get it. So coming back to the HR roles, after an MBA, there are a couple of HR tracks, say TA, L&D, all of that. So what are the 4-5 HR careers that are available after MBA in HR? And if you can define it in one line, each one of them, what exactly they do?
The first and foremost is definitely the talent acquisition, which is end-to-end hiring process, the recruitment process. Second comes the talent management, which has employee engagement, performance management, and so on. Third comes the learning and development, and fourth come the HR tech, which is nowadays quite evolving, which is HR tech transformation or digital transformation.
So HR analytics also comes into HR techs?
That is so that is another role that I was about to talk. Nowadays, HR analytics is also playing a crucial role, and it is high in demand.
Okay, so if one start as a TA and then grew in a HRBP sort of role, then head HR, how career trajectory look like in terms of job title as well as the CTC?
So you start as an executive or an associate, and then move up the ladder to assistant manager, and so on. And you can move across verticals of HR. You can move from a talent acquisition to a HRBP role to a L&D role. Mostly people take one vertical at a time and try to build career within that. So for example, if somebody has started with talent acquisition and has keen interest and is able to get the growth in talent acquisition space itself, so the person doesn't leave that. But there are people who get opportunities across L&D, across HRBP, and they even move to data analytics. So it is definitely movable. I myself have got opportunity to touch upon all the facets of HR, and it's an interesting journey.
Right. So you were saying you start with a talent acquisition, a recruiter typically,
Correct.
where you call candidates, interact with them, and then bring them to an interview. HR ops is another role, but where you manage the operation. Then you move to talent management, manage the KPIs, KRAs. Then you move to talent planning, which is called of HRBP, and then you move to CHRO, where you also look at PNL sort of a thing and understand the succession planning and all sort of things. So what percent of current Bajaj Finserv hiring is campus and lateral? And if not Bajaj Finserv, we talk about, you have worked in all sectors. So if you take Infra, Seramco kind of a company, or if you take a Wipro kind of a company, what is the percentage between campus and lateral?
It's usually 30-70. 30% is campus and 70% is lateral.
For fintech?
For fintech, for even infrastructure, for even service companies, it's usually 30% of the campus that people hire from, and 70% is the lateral hiring.
So only in case of TCS, Wipro, or a big IT tech M, they hire huge from campus. Is that correct understanding?
That is correct, because they also have to create bench, and they have projects
Correct.
where they're able to train people and put at work.
Correct. So you must have hired a lot of campus recruits all over the campus, tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. You have also hired from engineering schools?
Yes, I've hired from a lot of engineering colleges across Telangana, Andhra Pradesh, and even Maharashtra.
Lovely. So you have hired from E schools, you have hired from B schools. Once the candidate enters into a room, hiring room, and they give an interview, the way they give interview, what are the signals that they send to a recruiter that they are not aware of, and you assess that it makes a go or no go?
So sometimes they try to lie,
Okay.
or they want to cover up,
Correct.
which they are not aware, but we catch them.
Showing weakness as a strength, that I work too hard, I lose a track of a time.
Yeah, or some experience which they will boast about, but they have actually not worked upon, and they have mentioned in the CV. And when I check with them, they start fumbling,
Correct.
or they are not sure of. So these are some things. And when they lose confidence, their anxiety levels, their interest levels, these are few things which we are able to make out from their body language, but they are not aware that they are being
Signals
watched.
there's saying. Correct. And what kind of people thrive and what kind of people get plateau?
People who are open for feedback, open for learning, humble, and at the same time very proactive, they always thrive.
Very proactive, very interesting. It's not your manager's job to give you feedback, it's your job to ask for feedback.
Absolutely.
Right. We usually recently take a workshops in 1B school, and we said that how many of you have got less than 10 feedback, and people start retrospecting, and there were a lot of people, they said nahi yaar hame koi feedback nahi deta, and we say that because you are not feedback receptive.
Absolutely.
Right. Lovely. And give one trait that most resumes miss, that they talk a lot about keywords, they talk a lot about numbers, but that's something that you are looking for.
People usually miss to mention stakeholder management, which is nowadays very, very important. Whether you start as a fresher, you start as a 2, 3 years, 5 years experienced person, stakeholder management is must. You have to get things done, coordinating with different departments, different functions, and if you're not good at it, then I think you're not able to meet your goals.
Correct. I have seen that a lot of campus hires, when they join the workforce, they get offended really well, really easily. And therefore they feel that, I don't want to work here anymore, or, because somebody said this to me and he's not my boss or she's not my boss. Where 2-3 years down the line, they realize that this is how it works. So what do you advise them? The very interesting conversation that the same podcast I was referring, Kunal Shah, he said that the difference between the substance in the person and the perception, self-perception of the person, if the difference is too big, it's very easy to offend. If the difference is small, it's impossible to offend. What is your take on people joining their first job on, be a learning machine and not to get offended?
I would say it's a profession and not a personal matter.
Correct.
Where we need to get offended. Unless it is getting personal, I don't think there's a room or reason for people to get offended. If somebody is questioning your dignity, your self-respect, then I believe it is questionable. But otherwise, in business, everything is fair.
Correct. They're here to get the job done, and there you have to be objective enough. But that part is missing. Even at colleges, we are not teaching them to be how to be objective.
True.
And that is very important skill to be taught. As you said, stakeholder management. Along with that, we also should teach them how to be more objective. Great. So you talked a lot about being a cultural fit. Ramco has a very different culture. Darwin Box very different culture. Government of Madhya Pradesh might recruit very differently. So how do you assess cultural fit? If you are taking an interview for Bajaj Finserv today, it's very difficult to assess in 40 minutes that will this guy fit in the values.
See, some organizations would look at how people oriented you are. Some would look at how process oriented you are.
Okay.
And some would look at how can you own the business as an owner.
Correct.
Especially in a promoter-driven companies, they look for ownership, they look for confidence, they look for
Absolutely.
without instructions if you can lead your function. So these are certain things where we say you are a cultural fit or not. How open you are able to take the feedback from your juniors, from your seniors, and how fast you are able to implement that. How good you are in making lesser errors or probably making your tasks error-free.
Correct. If manager have to review what you have sent, you have long way to go.
Correct.
Because eventually he'll find someone who can send and who can build the trust. So recently we were building a values of TCC, and we put one thing that build trust every day.
Correct. So I'll come to one more point, especially with promoter-driven companies, trust play a crucial role.
Correct.
So we always see with a person coming with some experience, for example, if I'm hiring for an accounts or the HR or probably for business, I would see, can I trust this guy 2 months, 3 months down the line?
Correct.
Can I be completely stress-free that he will do his job and make the deliverables meet as per the timelines? Or do I need to follow up? Or do I need to teach him? Or do I need to put extra efforts? Or do I need to monitor? If I'm relaxed that I need not monitor him, he's good with his accountability and he'll get the work done, and he can even take people along with him, then I would
He's good to go.
Yes,
he's good to go. Even at promotion, we were just talking to one very senior HR leader like you, and he said that, when it comes to promotion, we have 4 or 5 matrices that in Excel we assess, and one of them is longevity of the candidate. If he's not going to be with us for 3 years or 2 years, doesn't matter how smart he is.
Correct.
Because you don't want to invest again and again. What do you think companies look for when it comes to promoting one when you have 3 names?
One definitely is how good you are the people's person.
Okay.
If you're not able to drive the team, then I think I have to think about it.
Okay.
Second, how good you are with domain expertise. Because
Correct.
when you go up the level, the first thing expected from you is you are able to guide your team resolving their problems. So you need to be a domain expert to become a leader. And third, definitely how empathetic you can be, how fast you can learn, and how open you are for the feedback if you get it from your team members. So if you have
From your team members, you said. Not only from management.
Not only from managers. Managers definitely give you the feedback. But if
That
your
you have
team
to
is-
listen.
Yeah, you have to listen. You don't have a choice. But if your team is giving feedback, are you open to make your make that change in you?
But there is always 2 kind of leaders. One is a very who will get you the numbers, but everybody in that team hates him, and the another kind of a person where everybody loves him, but you have no results. Or you have very little result, but always they have story why didn't work, and everybody is happy other than promoter. So how do you find how do you create, because you are an HR transformation is your core forte, how do you ensure that you build a culture which is a mix of both?
Yeah, so I have even been mentoring leaders, one who are very soft and very good with team, but not able to meet
numbers.
the deliverables, bring the numbers. Second, who are very good with numbers, but their team hates them. So I think we have to balance the both. People who are very good with numbers, they need to learn the softer side of people. And
Correct.
on the other side, people who are very good with their teams, they also need to be number focused.
Which is easier?
It is easier for people who are soft to focus on numbers rather than people who are very harsh and shrewd on numbers. They become a good people manager because in fact both of them are hard because both of them have to go through a change. Now the problem here is that you have to start learning to say no, and I think somewhere in my career I also learned that. I was also a very soft person at heart. I am still but yeah, when it comes to deliverables, probably I was not able to take a call on my team members, and somewhere I also learned that whenever something is not possible, you should call it out. If the performance is not happening, you should call it out, give the feedback, and be with people, help them, empower them, but ensure that they grow up the ladder, they come out of that phase. So I usually don't give up on the people. I make sure that people learn. If they have the good attitude, I make sure that their skills are enhanced. But if they want to give up, is the time when
you have to let them go. No, you touched on a very interesting line. You said that you go slow with people, you trust people, and you don't give up on people very easily. But somewhere there has to be a stop loss. So where do you draw the line, saying that you said that when they give up on themselves, then there is no point dragging them. But other than that, is there any signals that HR people should look for? Because you've been leading HR for 20 years, you must have a lot of tough conversations, difficult conversations, which people avoid. Nobody would like to have that. So what are the signals that we should assess that by here we should stop investing in this person?
See, nowadays there's technology to take care of the pulse of employees.
Okay.
But otherwise, with one-on-one sessions that I always insist my managers to do, you get a lot of feelers of how the person is performing. Basically, their overall motivation level, their interest in work, the timelines they need to adhere. All these points will give you the signals of how the person is interested in. And then you need to understand if somebody is lacking. It can be either the will issue or the skill issue.
Correct.
If it's a will issue, that means somewhere the motivation is getting compromised. Now, that also can be two reasons, personal and professional. Personal, you cannot do much of, but you can definitely be empathetic of.
Be empathetic
But if it
of.
is professional, if the person is bothered with boss or with colleagues, you need to listen, you need to fix it.
Can be repaired. Correct.
Absolutely. And when it comes to a skill issue, you can definitely push him with a lot of trainings, a lot of mentoring, somebody who can be a buddy and make him, learn for the specific period of time. And then there are tools like performance improvement plans, which also keep people on toes. And I've seen 90% of these people whom we genuinely invest with an intent of improving, they improve and they come with us a long way.
So is there any story where you have given up on something but you thought एक chance दे देते हैं, let's give one more chance. You join that call to say goodbye and you give him a chance and then he moved to ladder and become VP or someone?
Yes, it happened. Not to a VP, but yes, in my previous company, I actually got onto a call where it was a thank you call, and the person requested so that I'm genuinely interested continuing this journey. One, definitely he had family issues, financial issues, and second, he was genuinely interested to pursue the career because of the brand, because of the work, and he posed those skills, and he said it's only that a matter of time that I need to work upon, and you give me just 1 month time, and you will see the growth happening. And we gave him that 1 month, and he had shown amazing turnaround. And after that, he didn't look back. So for the next year, I have seen him growing, taking up bigger roles, becoming a manager, from an entry-level person to becoming a manager, and taking a bigger task was something completely transformational. And I had seen and heard a lot of stories. One of my close colleagues in KC Overseas also, he joined at a very junior level, and probably in 8 to 9 years of time, he became the associate vice president. And now he's heading the business, talking about profit and loss, somebody who was at a level where he was processing applications. So there are a lot of such journeys where people are passionate and they invest their time and effort and bring that change and become inspiration for many.
Correct. So how coachable you are, how much skin in the game you have, and how hungry you are for your learning is what defines, or is there anything you would like to add?
Do you take the ownership?
Do you take the ownership? Correct. People who just say, I have done my part and then I don't care of the result.
If I wash off my hands that my job is done, now I'm least bothered, then sorry.
You are done.
Yeah.
Correct. Makes sense. No, lovely. There's a lot of insights that we have given to our audiences that what needs to be incorporated if you want to thrive in a corporate. Thank you for accepting our invitation to come and share your wisdom. I'm sure that audience will get a lot of value from this.
Thank you so much, Mashi. It was lovely talking to you.